Hi, this is Birch Keeley, and I'm here to present another one of our details videos. In this particular video, I'm going to describe how you can use our application to extract pre-processed data. For this example, I want to demonstrate how to extract director compensation. For background, we monitor the SEC EDGAR website during the business day for new 10K filings, amendments to 10K filings, and proxy filings. When new filings are disseminated, we pull them and try to identify director and executive compensation as well as audit fee tables. If we find them, we extract them and normalize them. We also add additional fields to the data that was extracted from the table. For all of the compensation tables, we add the gender, the CIKs of the officers and directors, as well as the name they use in their SEC filings. Once we are done with this initial processing, we push this data to a database for you to access. If the data does not trigger any error alerts, the initial results are usually available about 30 minutes after the filing has been disseminated. The process doesn't stop there though. We have overnight processes that attempt to add other variables to the director compensation data. For example, we add age and a measure of tenure called since. Since is the year the director was appointed. We try to add these values using algorithms. If they can't be added automatically, then the table is flagged for one of our team to review and add these values. One of the most common reasons this data gets flagged for review is when a registrant appoints a new director. Accessing this data requires that you create a request file. The request file must be a CSV file and must have 3 columns. The first required column is the CIK or central index key of the issuer. The second required column is year. This is the year that the document the data is reported in was filed. The last required column is the PF or period focus column. At the present time, the only value allowed in the PF column is FY. This is an abbreviation for fiscal year. We have a server that listens for your data request, receives your request file, organizes the data, and then pushes it back to your desktop. The process of organizing the data is very CPU intensive, so we have some limits on the size of your request file. We ask that you limit your request to 20,000 CIK year pairs per request file for all data types other than the Section 16 annual summary data. This is our insider trading data. If you are requesting Section 16 annual summary data, please limit your request to 1,500 CIK year pairs. The Section 16 annual summary data is organized by company year. 1 year of this data reports all insider transactions by all of the directors, executive officers, and other insiders of the company. For some companies, 1 year of data might include more than 500 lines of transactions with more than 200 column headings. A request file with 1,500 CIK year pairs might generate a result file that has more than 750,000 lines. This is a very large file. It is very difficult for you to open it on your desktop, and it's difficult to create. To be clear, you can submit as many request files as you need. Please, though, limit the size of each request file to be no more than 1,500 CIK year pairs for the insider trading data and 20,000 CIK year pairs for all other data. Once you've prepared your request file, you are ready to use it to pull data. From the application, select Extraction and then Extraction Preprocessed. The input CSV that you need to select is the request file. You then have an option to specify a destination for the results. The default is for the results to be saved in the same folder as the input CSV file. After you have identified the request file and a destination, the Read Input button becomes active. Press this button and the application will receive a list of all available data artifacts from our server. The artifacts are classified as text sections or data tables. Text sections are those artifacts that are just parses from a document. For example, if you want to read or analyze the management's discussion and analysis section from a set of 10K filings, you would select MD&A. Today, we are accessing director compensation data, which is in the data tables list of artifacts. So select the artifact type that you want and hit the OK button. Once we hit the OK button, the application sends the request file to our server. Our server collects and organizes the data and then returns the data back to the local computer. The application will report on progress right here. Rather than watch the progress run, let's take a look at the output that's being created. I have an Excel file that has all of the CSV files used in this demonstration. When we are extracting actual data tables, the application delivers two CSV files to your computer. One is the missing CIK year pairs file. This file lists the pairs of CIK and year values for which data was not available on our server. In this particular case, I have one observation. The other CSV file you can expect in the folder is the actual data file. This is cleverly named results. The file includes columns that help you identify the actual filing that the data was collected from. It reports the normalized data that was reported in the table that we extracted, and then it also has fields that we added to enhance the data. As you can see, we have the SEC name, the person CIK, the since, the age, and the gender. Our initial request file had 3,363 CIK year pairs. This director compensation data result file has over 30,000 lines of data. In addition to the CSV files, we also deliver the actual table that the data was originally collected from. If you look at the destination folder, you will see a new subdirectory named source files. Since the process is finished running, we can use the Smart Browser to review those tables that have been saved within the source files folder. To review the tables, select the Smart Browser from the application and navigate to the directory that has those SNP tables. I've got it set up already. You can compare the data as reported and evaluate our normalization choices. You can use other features of our application to do additional processing of the source tables. Sometimes the actual data was not reported in a table. It might have been reported in an image file, so we were not able to parse it. If I look at the source files directory and I do a sort by descending size, you'll see many files that are very small. If you open up one of those files and review it, as I've got this one set up for us to review here, you'll find some language that indicates that the data was sourced from an image-only source file and there was not any available table for you to review. So if you want to review it, you'll have to actually go back and review the original filing. I'd like to finish this off by touching on some of the complications that you might experience while you're working with this data. For example, there will usually be cases where we report that the person's CIK and SEC name are unavailable. This can happen when the director does not have a reporting obligation. For instance, they might be paid in cash only. Since many of us love Tootsie Rolls, I will use Tootsie Roll Industries as an example. They are a controlled company, and as a practice, they don't distribute equity. Oftentimes, their directors and executive officers do not have SEC names or person CIKs available. I should note, we do research and try to find other boards or companies these people might be affiliated with to find their person CIK and their SEC name. Sometimes we are successful. If not, we will report that the data is not available and an indication of the last time one of our team attempted to research this problem with this particular company. There can be missing age and sense values. We initially try to populate these fields based on some algorithms and using other data in our database. If values can't be inferred, then one of our team will review these manually and update the fields. Even after we've tried to manually review them, sometimes this data is not available. Finally, at times, there can be duplicate observations. This happens because we initially capture all filings, and while we flag duplicates, we do process them. Periodically, someone from the team will review duplicates and remove the later filing from the data store if all the data matches. I think that's all I want to talk about today. I hope that you found this useful.